To open, I would like to ask my panel to very briefly introduce themselves so you can meet them, starting with Kian.
So hi, I'm Kian Litchfield. I'm the head of commercial at PRS For Music in the public performance sales area, and so I'll be responsible for the consultation as it is now.
Okay, I'm Keith Gilbert. I'm the director of public performance sales for PRS For Music, and Kian's a key member of my top team.
I'm Justin Argent. I'm chair of Strawberry Fair Committee. I have a problem with foot and mouth disease, I guess, which is probably why I'm on the panel.
Can everybody hear? Everybody all right? Yes? Good. So, to get things started, let's get a bit of background. PRS For Music launched a consultation into how much its levy is on live music, obviously including festivals. Keith, can you just give it a bit of background as to why the consultation was launched?
Sure. We have 42 tariffs overall, and we have a 5-year plan to review all of our tariffs. Our tariff LP is such a key tariff for us. We thought there was time for a review and time to get the view of the industry as to where we should go in the future. And basically that was it, really. What was the thinking behind it? Did you feel that you needed to make more money from it? Well, it hadn't been reviewed for 20 years. Our members, the people that write and compose and publish the music, are obviously keen to see revenues increase. And as I say, it hadn't been reviewed, and it was part of this sort of ongoing program to review all of our tariffs. And it got the time for us to do LP, and that's what we did.
So, what happened with the consultation? Tell us a bit about the process and what kind of response you had.
Well, as you know, we launched it in the summer of last year, June of last year, with a closing date in September, October. We had representation from the industry to say that it wasn't quick enough, so we extended that until December of last year. We had 53 replies. We had lots of comments saying that they liked the fact that it was open and honest, and that giving people the ability to consult with us, as you would expect in a consultation. And what we've done since is we've been reviewing the results that have come back, as well as meeting key people in the industry. We haven't met as many as we want to. We have met with Melvin Benn, Harvey Goldsmith, Michael Levis, to name but a few, but we're trying to meet more to understand really more of the background to it, because a reply can be very, very dry. So we actually want to understand what's driving the industry and what the industry feels that we should be doing.
So can you give us an idea of what some of the responses have been?
Yeah, nobody actually said that it's too low and we should increase it dramatically, which was quite a surprise. Most people said that it should either stay the same or be reduced, or us look at the way that it is constructed and look at things like camping, small festivals with a greater degree of mixed content.
Because I know some festivals feel that as the content at the festival isn't exclusively music, they felt uncomfortable with the fact that they'd had to pay PRS fee on the ticket receipt before.
Yeah, Michael Levis particularly says that Glastonbury now is so diverse that the 3% across the whole ticket is unfair, and we're taking that on board. We're actually looking at that. We're interested to see what other people have said as a result of the consultation, but we are genuinely reviewing where we are.
Justin, as a festival organiser, as a promoter, how does the PRS charge affect you? Do you have a large bill? What's your thoughts?
Well, from a Strawberry Fair point of view, we actually only have unsigned bands playing their own music, and we don't have any performance of signed or constituted music, and yet we still pay a fee of, it's not much, it's £1.50, but it's still a fee. And it's a bit bemusing, to be perfectly honest, as to how that then feeds back to artists who have no means of being in part of PRS.
How does that work then?
In terms of the music played at the festival, I suppose depends entirely on whether the music is in copyright, so who actually wrote the music as opposed to the artists playing the music. And so through the way we collect our festivals is through set lists are given back to us, and we use those to determine which composers, songwriters and publishers are involved with that music when it's created. So not only must we consider the artist as playing, who's compensated by the festival, but we represent the composer, songwriter and the publisher as well. So, and they're quite a key component, and they take a fee out of that.
What if they're not registered for PRS?
If someone's not registered for PRS, then obviously we wouldn't distribute money to them. But the 3% of as a flat basis is it's in place because it's simple, and the tribunal sort of deemed that so back in 1988. Obviously, in the consultation, people have said, what about times when music's used, and they're not members of PRS, and it is something that we're looking at. We do have it in place in the Tariff LC, and obviously that's a much smaller market, and so it's easier for us to look through set lists for the various concerts that occur. But it is something we are looking at in consultation, and it's something that we brought up within that.
Yeah, I mean, I recognise that there's a need to protect the actual writers and producers of the music outside of the people performing it, and I think covers is a totally different story. But what we're talking about here is, particularly in the industry now, there's a lot of grassroots movement to try and make young bands and new bands get their opportunity to perform in front of a larger audience. And it seems to be that festival organisers are being asked to foot a bill for, and it's actually, they are, what more direct way can you supply an artist with money than having them perform live on your stage, their own music, they're playing, they get the money from the event organiser, promoter. Why then is there a fee going to PRS outside of that? It confuses me. I mean, if you could explain how that works and that makes sense, then I think I can.
Yeah, I've heard this argument as well, that if a promoter is paying an act that's playing their own music, why do they get paid twice? Is that the kind of feedback you guys have had during the consultation?
Yes, it is something that's come up in the consultation. I think the thing to remember is that someone is an artist who performs, but they are also a songwriter, and those are two distinct and separate things that they do. What they do when they join PRS is they assign the rights, whether they've written songs, to us, and so we collect on their behalf. And it doesn't matter whether that's at a live music event, in a pub, a restaurant, anywhere that it's performed, on radio, and downloaded online. And so we collect all of that and then distribute it back. And currently, the way that works is they can't elect for themselves to collect the money at festivals and such. It would become very difficult administratively to do that.
Sorry, Justin, can I just be clear? Are you saying that the music is out of copyright, so it's unsigned?
I think, yeah, I'll clarify. There's two issues here. One is that a lot of unsigned bands don't have any music in copyright, and yet there's still a fee being charged on that. And also, separate to that, the idea that a musician who wrote his own music is then performing in front of an audience, but he's not allowed to collect a fee for his own work. He has to then separate that. Should a festival organiser be then saying, well, we're going to subtract the PRS fee from your contract to perform on our stage? Is that what you're suggesting? Because that seems like an administrative burden and bureaucracy beyond recognition.
Okay, the first point, if it's music that's outside copyright, if they're not a member of PRS or any other society around the world, then a fee would be attractive. You wouldn't have to pay a fee for that. If they're playing their own music, then, as Kian said, when you join PRS, you assign the copyright to us, because I think it's only about 40% of artists play their own music. So we collect across the board, and it's 100% direct distribution when we collect a set list, apart from obviously the fee that the PRS takes to run the business, which is the lowest in Europe. We distribute 89.5% of everything we collect.
By the way, if anybody wants to chip in, we've got a couple of people with mics, so just stick your hand up and give me a wave, and I will bring you into the conversation at any point. Great. You could give us an idea of some of the other responses, what were the themes that were coming out of what promoters were telling you?
Very much as I've said, the fee is high. They are telling us how tough the industry is, how much the artist now takes out of the pot, how many times they lose money on particular events, both festivals and live events. But very much that the fee structure should stay as it is or be reduced, and we should, sorry, keep repeating myself, but we should look at things like camping, we should look at content, and make it much more suitable for the age we live in rather than 20 years ago when it was set.
Got a question? Yeah, far away.
Oh, hello, hiya. You just mentioned about events that lose money. One of the things that I've always wondered is why the tariff applies to gross receipts rather than profit.
The tariff applies to gross receipts. Essentially, what we've tried to do with the tariff and the way rates are applied is to come up with a way of working out what a suitable royalty is for that event or how the music is used. And so that 3% of total receipts was set by the tribunal as a basis. And prior to that, there was another option which was based on estimated technical money holding capacity as well, which was removed by the tribunal. The reason it's on receipts is it's a simple mechanism, something that's easy to measure. And then 3% is set at a level that the royalty that we therefore charge is at a reasonable level. To do it on profit, obviously you have to agree how profit is measured, and it becomes a lot more tricky administratively to look after that and make sure things are declared properly, etc., etc.
Doesn't it kind of reflect the value that a company producing a like this?
Sorry, can we get a mic on just so we can hear what's saying?
Sorry. Wouldn't that reflect the value that a company producing a music festival gets from copyrighted music, as opposed to a 3% charge when the company's making a loss?
There's arguments both ways. It also depends on how you measure the loss, whether you're taking into account all the various revenues and revenue streams that are associated with the concert, which is something else that we've approached in the consultation in the looking at ancillary revenues that are tied to concerts and festivals.
I wonder how many profitable festivals might suddenly start breaking even or making a loss if it was charged on profit. I know that the fact that there are a variety of different elements that make up the ticket for a festival, especially a festival organiser has to put in all their infrastructure, which adds to the cost, and that all has to get built into the ticket. I know that's something you looked at in the consultation. What are the outcomes of that? What's the thinking on that going forward?
In terms of concessions, I mean, as you'd expect, everybody would like us to make concessions for elements like camping. There's calls, obviously, for the non-music areas that we're talking about, or parts of festivals where there's a lot of other activities taking place. And within the consultation, we put in a structure where we were looking at altering the rate based on those kinds of factors, which I hope most of you have probably seen.
But I think it's very important to remember that this is the first time we've ever done a consultation like this. Before, PRS would have decided that it wanted to change the rate and would have gone out and just changed the rate. We now put this consultation process in place. We've had it in for a couple of years. This is the first major one that we've used it for, and we're finding that we're actually learning lots more than we knew before. But it's about PRS being much more open and trying to understand your side of the industry rather than just the songwriters and publishers.
Justin, there's obviously a lot of pressures on festivals at the moment, particularly financially. Did you welcome the chance to be consulted on this?
I think it was interesting. I think it was a step in the right direction, certainly. I personally took it with an air of cynicism, and I know for a fact that other people who I work with also were quite sceptical about the outcome of this. So everyone was totally honest in what they wanted to say, but we weren't entirely convinced that what was going to come out was any different. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how far have you got through with sort of trying to progress where you've gone with the consultation to the point where we actually see results from that?
Well, where we are right now, we are still analysing the responses, and it may interest you to know that we actually intend publishing summary of the responses on our website, so everybody can actually see it. And again, that's the first time we will have done that. The next step is that later on this year, we have said that we're not going to change rates for 2011. We're going to stay where they are, because obviously tickets have been sold, etc. The next step really is to take the results of the consultation back to the PRS board and to say to them, this is what the industry is telling us, this is what we believe we should do, and at the end of the day the board will make the decision as to whether we can move the rate or not.
So nothing's going to happen this year, there's going to be no increase or anything in the fee structure this year?
Correct.
What is the, can you give us an idea of the thinking going forward? What timescales we're looking at, and can you give us an idea of the mood of?
Yeah, we will. The timescale will be, we intend taking having a special board meeting probably in the summer, just before the board break up for its own holiday. This is summer school, isn't it? Actually, it's a bit like that sometimes. We will take it to the board at that point, and we will share with them what everybody is saying, and let have an open discussion there as well to say, what should we do next? And you wouldn't expect me to tell you why I'm thinking this direction.
Well, I can ask.
Sorry. The thing that I would urge people to do, though, is if you did respond and you have more to say, then we really want to hear from you. The reason that we're both here today is to make contact. We actually want to know what's really going on and what people think.
Okay, great.
Hello, I'm Claire from the Association of Independent Festivals, so I'm looking purely from a festival perspective, really. The first question is about the DP tariff, what your current plans are as far as that's concerned.
What's happening with the DP tariff?
Again, same as everything, we were taking on board all the responses in the consultation, and so there's no fixed plan as to what will happen with DP.
Yeah, DP just...
it won't change this year, the same as LP rates, so it's still in place until...
Just for clarity, the DP is the dance party tariff, which is set at lower, taking into consideration quite a lot the fact that a lot of the music isn't registered in the PRS, and there's a lot of white label music that gets paid. The other question is, did you say earlier, I couldn't quite hear, that you don't have to pay a fee if music played is out of copyright? Did you say that, Keith? I thought that was what you said.
Yeah, if there's any copyright music at a festival or concert, then the 3% fee would apply for DP, if that's the case.
And if there's non-copyrighted music, it doesn't?
If it was purely non-copyright, then we wouldn't license.
And so if in your submission to PRS you specify that it's out of copyright, that would mean your fee wouldn't apply?
We would probably have to check the works to ensure that they're out of copyright.
Okay, that's good to know.
But it would have to be every work that's played.
Okay, and final question, and then I'll shut up. The ancillary income, what's your present, today, what are your feelings about applying tariff to ancillary income festivals? Do you feel after reading the consultation that it's a justified step forward?
Yeah, there was an element in the consultation, wasn't there, looking at whether ancillary income such as food and beverage and sponsorship and that kind of thing could be taken into account when calculating PRS.
Yeah, and we know, for example, that Gamer charge on that as part of their fee. Again,
that's the German version.
Sorry, yeah, the German society. Again, we're looking at it. It has been very interesting that when people have actually really broken down how they make money, how much that section of income means to the festival. It's kind of whether you break even or not, isn't it? So we are taking that into account. We're not just saying, well, because the German society do it, then we should. It was interesting to put it in to get people's reaction to it.
The German rate of PRS is 10%, I think, and they just agreed to take a cut of sponsorship income as well. Yes, the promoters there aren't very happy So, moving forwards, what ways do we think that festivals and PRS for music can work together more closely? Obviously, you need to recompense songwriters, festivals present paying PRS.
Well, I think talking to us is the main thing. As I say, we are deadly serious about actually understanding what's going on in the industry, for you to talk to us, for us to talk to you. We don't want to be this authority that is on high that says this is what we're going to charge going forward. We don't want to do that with any of our tariffs. We certainly don't want to do it with this one. We want an open dialogue. That's part of the reason that we've delayed doing anything we should.
Yeah, I think personally, I think it's very important that the PRS recognise the value of the live music industry to songwriters as a development thing and a growth industry. It builds the possibility for songwriters to get more money out of their business. Sorry, am I not talking? Have I just spoke there?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's interesting how some of my publisher colleagues on the board will be saying to me, no, we must do this, we must do this. And when you actually say you're coming to an event like this and who's going to be there, they want to get their acts actually onto your stages.
Is there any feedback questions? Yeah, we've got a question here. Can we get a mic down front? Thank you.
Hello. Keith, I think at IMC recently there's a panel on the rates as well. I think they said you'd be very surprised if the rates actually if the rates went up. What you're saying, it sounds like been a fairly unanimous response from across the live music industry saying that the rates should either be frozen or lowered. But what would you say is a sort of a percentage chance at the moment is there of the rates either staying the same or actually going down?
Well, if I was a betting man, I would actually say there's a pretty good chance that they will stay the same. Clearly, it's not my decision; it's the board's decision. But I would be surprised if they went up. I also said at that if this ends up, because this is a tribunal tariff, and that if we end up in a tribunal because of the rate, then PRS as an organisation will have failed.
Can you just explain a bit more for anybody who doesn't understand how that process works?
Yeah, basically, if we want to change the tariff and there is a challenge for the tariff, what basically happens, we both give a set of lawyers a few £1 million each, who then prepare a case, and it goes to 3 people that have no idea about the industry to do actually.
So the best outcome for everybody is working together and making sure that everyone understands. Anybody else got any questions? Yeah, we've got one over there.
I'd just like to say, in defence of PRS to a certain extent, is that they are in negotiation. You referred to GAMAR. GAMAR are one of the most authoritative or demanding societies in Europe. I mean, they pretty much act as if they're tax collectors. And in fact, they don't charge 10%. It's actually a sliding scale that will be going up over the next few years. In some cases that's fair, but also they're also charging on all ancillary income, camping returns. If you produce a brochure and you receive money from advertising that brochure, GAMAR will take money from that as well. So I think we should be giving PRS a bit of leeway here, because they are negotiating, whereas GAMAR just jumped in and more or less said that's the way it is. And the people that represented the live music business over there seem to have given in. The one thing that I suppose PRS may well be copying is the sliding scale. Keith, what do you think about the possibility of that?
Well, thank you for your comments, and I would never want the division that I run to be in that situation where we impose. It is about negotiation and about talking to people and working together. I don't like it. I think it's complex and it's open to abuse. I want us to have a simple tariff that's simple for you to administer.
Hello, I have a question about the way the PRS assesses the use of copyright music. It's kind of a development of what Justin was saying about unsigned bands. I just wondered about the use of the set list, kind of in the digital age where you have a lot of performances, mixed media, AV, DJ performances, which involve all kinds of live electronic performance with copyright and non-copyright music. My experience of the set list is that of the very small majority of those forms which are actually filled in, the content, a lot of performers generally can't offer an accurate kind of listing of the copyright music, often because a lot of their performance doesn't even involve copyright music. Where do you see the relevance of like the set list? Because to me it kind of seems like it's sort of out of the arc for a lot of modern electronic or a lot of performances at festivals these days. Well, the set list is pretty essential to what we do because it provides us with the backbone that allows us to distribute the money directly to the people who've written the music. Paper set lists, per se, yes, they are old. Some, in the consultation, there's some calls to modernise it and put it online, and some calls not to do so because it's simple to give a piece of paper out to someone to sort of write their list on. But it is something we're exploring. Within PRS, we're always looking to improve the processes that we have, and so it's feedback like this that helps us to do that.
And we are investing heavily in digital fingerprinting. So we are working with a number of companies to see where that takes us, because quite rightly it's the future. But when you can put a sensor in that tells you what's being played, that's the way it will go at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
As regards to the digital fingerprinting thing, do you think there is any leeway in the future for a more accurate assessment of the content of performances, so that instead of a blanket of 3% or whatever you use, you're actually assessing like the use of actual copyright content in a performance rather than a blanket fee? So would it be possible perhaps to look at it's just assessing performances at festivals according to the actual use of copyright music, as opposed to like a blanket assessment?
I agree with this, and I think what I feel here is that whilst you're driving for a simple solution, I've been to many of the events that people put on here, and I would say that they're far from simple. There's a huge range of different activities. Things going on. Every event strives to be unique in its own way, and to try and make a simple solution to a lot of this is going to be really challenging, and I think it's actually almost looking slightly the wrong direction. Digital fingerprinting goes a long way to helping analyse the information that's coming in, but I think that simplicity isn't the solution here.
Right, more complicated?
Yeah, okay. No one wants it to be more complicated, but I think that simple isn't necessarily. 3% on gate isn't an accurate assessment of a lot of what people do. Certainly for some events, they're all about grassroots work, and they're not aiming to make much profit at all. And that in itself is advantageous to everyone within the industry. So it has to be a bit more complicated, I think.
I think we are where we are right now, and we're looking at what's happening. But as technology changes, we won't wait a further 20 years to change it again. I think as technology changes and we have the ability to charge in a different way, I think that what we'll do is we will review the tariff and the way we charge going forward.
Yeah, I guess it's almost a best case scenario at the moment. It's as good as it can be, I suppose. Any more questions at all?
I suppose, sorry, just to add to that, is at the moment we're going through this process of consultation changing after 20 years. We're going on from this. We want to keep that communication going so we can stay instead and keep on top of those sorts of things.
So, in summary then, no change this year. If you were to head down Ladbrokes, you might want to stick a couple of quid on the fact that it might not change in the future, but who knows. but very much so, it's very much still open. It's not necessarily a formal consultation period at the moment, but you're still open to dialogue, you know, still want to hear from festivals.
Absolutely.
And, so it's very easy to find them, just Google PRS For music, I'm sure you can get on them. Great, well, thank you very much everybody.